Hello everyone. The topic that we are discussing in today's lecture is Hollywood cinema. The cinema made in the United States is generally called as Hollywood cinema. American cinema has a style of its own. By the beginning of cinema itself, American cinema became a dominant force in the cinema industry. The cinema in the US began in Fort Lee, a place called Fort Lee in New Jersey, which is in the US. And New Jersey was considered as the motion picture capital of the world before Hollywood began. The first ever motion picture studio, which was built by Thomas Edison, and the name of the studio is Black Maria Studio. This studio was in a place called Orange in New Jersey. Later, by 1907 and in the succeeding years, many studios like the Universal Studios, Fox Film Corporation, and many others started making pictures at Fort Lee. Many of the companies did not have the rights to use the camera equipment because the patent for the camera equipment and some other equipments related to filmmaking was actually owned by Edison. So many of these film production companies moved away from New Jersey so that they escape from Edison's men who used to seize the equipments while shooting is happening in New Jersey. So they wanted a place, a safer place, which is away from the reach of Edison's men. And that is why they found out a place, a village called Hollywood, a neighborhood of California in Los Angeles. So this place had a very good weather condition in Los Angeles, which is ideal for shooting all through the year, and it has also close access to different topographs like mountains, lakes, deserts, coasts, and forests. In 1910, director D.W. Griffith shot his film in Old California in the village of Hollywood, and this is the first ever movie shot in Hollywood. Then many movie makers moved to shoot in Hollywood to avoid the fees imposed by Thomas Edison Company, and Nestor Studios was the first studio started in Hollywood. By 1915, 60% of the US film production was centered in the suburb of Hollywood in Los Angeles. The United States began to take on the world stage, and during the times of economic crisis and waves of immigration, lower class audiences found cheap amusement in motion pictures, and an ambitious generation of entrepreneurs took movies as a business. The movies told stories in a powerful new way. Hollywood emerged as the center of powerful motion picture production during the first decades of the 20th century. The 1920s was a good decade for Hollywood. The movies were at the hands of its founding generation of movie entrepreneurs who became the Mughals of Hollywood. They built self sufficient studios and they called it Dream Factory. The movie stars became celebrities and they had an unprecedented international fame with the arrival of sound. The whole Hollywood industry changed in the 1930s. The movie business was totally transformed by the arrival of sound, and an economic depression ripped the world. Mughals and movie stars responded by providing entertainment, and by 1939, Hollywood was at the peak of art and profitability. The beginning of 1940 did not have a happy ending. World War II happened, Hollywood joined the fight. The Hollywood movies provided inspiration and entertainment and presented a victorious America, and the vision came true. Despite the triumphs of the United States and movie making in Hollywood, 1950s were trying times. Since the 20s, the reign of the Hollywood Mughals was unchallenged, but the audiences were impatient now. They demanded new stars, new storylines, and at the same time, the Mughals' entertainment monopolies were under attack. The television threatened to keep the movie audience at home, and in 1960s, the Mughals of Hollywood era of filmmaking was over. Stars fade in and fade out. A new Hollywood was being born, more unspoken and far reaching than ever, from the first flickering images of 1882. There was a dream to capture movement, to create an illusion of life and turn it into stories. Some of the first players to play with the light and shadow are scientists and inventors. Dutch scientist Christian Huygens invented the magic lantern in the mid 17th century. The magic lantern is an early type of image projector. It was commonly used for entertainment purposes and it had set the stage for motion pictures. With the projections of sequential images of a running horse by Muybridge, invention of flexible photosensitive papers, Edison's kinetoscope, etc., were huge inventions that set the ball rolling. People like George Méliès and Edison were among the first to tell stories through motion pictures. They did not present just scenes. Méliès presented a fantasy in his trip to the moon in 1902, and Edison showed the same scene from different perspectives in the life of American farmer. These new efforts showed what story in a film can do. The Great Train Robbery is Edwin S. Porter's first most successful movie, and this movie, released in the year 1903, had set new standards for commercial motion pictures. The Great Train Robbery was America's first blockbuster. The suspense ending and the final closing, where the director includes the audience in the story, gave new ideas for the creators. The Great Train Robbery not only changed how movies were made but also influenced where they were shown. The theatres changed because of the Great Train Robbery. The new movie emporiums were called Nickelodeons, combining the words nickel, the United States coin, and odeon, the Greek word for theatre. One of the first Nickelodeons to open was in Pittsburgh in 1905. By 1908, there were around 4,000 to 5,000 Nickelodeons across America, entertaining 2 million customers every day. In the United States, the entertainment revolution launched by Thomas Edison was followed by an unlikely generation of new movie pioneers. As the movie business is being born, so is the new America. Most of the pioneering movie moguls were immigrants. Most of them went to America with no clear-cut notion of what they might do in America. America was a land of opportunity. The route to Hollywood power began at the very bottom. The founder of Paramount, Adolf Zukor, was raised as an impoverished orphan in Hungary. Likewise, the founders of Universal Studios, Fox Studios, Warner Brothers were all immigrants from different countries who moved to America because of their impoverished conditions in their native lands. And these people went on to start bigger studios in America. Most of the people started as studio theatre owners rather than movie makers. In the beginning, nothing was compartmentalized. You could be a screenwriter one day, you could be an actor the other day, and the next day you can take care of different responsibilities. You can be a director or edit, and it doesn't really matter. Early movie making not only allowed enterprising men to start their careers, but also entrepreneurial women to start their careers. One of the earliest female directors is Alice Guy Blache from France, and she finished her work as a secretary during the day and started telling stories with the scenes that she has collected in the evening. Guy Blache's first film, and arguably the world's first narrative film, was called La Fille aux Choux, The Cabbage Fairy, in 1896. Between 1896 to 1906, she was probably the only female filmmaker in the world. D.W. Griffith was born in Kentucky and he was an underemployed electrician. He had little interest in movies when he worked with Edwin and Porter Company. He acted in a movie in a minor role and then found ways to make more money by becoming a director in 1908. Griffith's first movie was a typical suspenseful melodrama. During his 5 years with the Biograph Company, Griffith made around 400 films, creating a base for many of the good future filmmakers, from which they learned to make films. Griffith had a feeling that films can be more than what they were actually during that time. So, Griffith was transforming movie making from static staging to dynamic storytelling, interspersing separate actions to create energy and suspense. He started differentiating the acting styles. Some of his actors used the same melodramatic style of the drama. He was there also appreciating subtle acting. He is also credited as a person who brought on more sophisticated acting. He is also the inventor of techniques like close up and integrated actions. He was the first who combined shots to create unprecedented expressive power. He was the first one to realize the ability of cinema to move from place to place from point of view shots. His movie, The Battle of Elderbush Gulch, is an action packed western. D.W. Griffith was making the foundation for modern movies. George Eastman is credited to be the inventor of film. The Squaw Man was the first feature film made in Hollywood as the demand for movie making increased in America. Many distinct styles of movie making started coming up. One of the earliest was animation movies. A famous newspaper cartoonist called Winsor McKay made a short film of his most popular character, Little Nemo, in 1911. He gave much more detail to his hand drawn animations than any animation previously seen in cinemas. He drew thousands of little hand drawn images to bring Little Nemo, the character, to life. The comic strip character became a success on the movie screen. His film, Gertie the Dinosaur, released in the year 1911, featured an early example of character development in drawn animation. It was also the first film to combine live action footage with animation. The first king of movie comedy was Canadian born Mack Sennett. Like many others, he began his career with D.W. Griffith. He applied editing tools to edit for speed and comedy. Sennett became famous as the originator of slapstick comedies. He was called the King of Comedy. Actor Mabel Normand was the first greatest female comedy star. Mabel Normand not only acted but also started directing movies. One of the newcomers that Mabel was assigned to direct was Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin played a small role in a movie called A Busy Day in 1914, which was directed by Mabel Normand. Charlie Chaplin was one of the most famous comedians, starting at a salary of $150 per week. Within a year, he was the most famous performer with his own camera identity. He earned more money than many other actors of his time. He played a little tramp, a dreamer, a lonely fellow, always hopeful. His character was the study of contradictions. Chaplin's characterization had a wide appeal. Some of the most popular early movies were westerns. Bronco Billy Anderson was widely considered the first great movie star of the western genre. He became an actor, writer, and director in New York. Anderson played 3 roles in Porter's The Great Train Robbery before specializing in westerns. There was entertainment and glamour in his movies for the next 10 years. His movies became one of the biggest box office hits. In March 1915, Carl Laemmle, a German immigrant, started Universal Studios in a sparsely populated San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles. It was a city built by him with the sole purpose of making movies. It had everything from schools to hospitals. He employed many of the German immigrants in the Universal City, and he was fondly called Uncle Carl by everyone. He opened the studio for visitors during shooting. He charged them 25 cents to witness a movie shooting. During that time, women were never accepted in any other profession. Many women were actresses, during the silent movie years. More than that, they had a powerful role to play as directors, writers, and producers. Pioneers like Alice Guy Blache had been directing movies as early as 1896, as we saw earlier. By 1913, a former pianist and actress, Lois Weber, was a very famous woman. She was a very prominent director and the highest paid director. By 1910, she was the highest paid director of the lot, and she had a great storytelling skill. She knew what worked on screen. She appreciated the importance of background and the texture of the film, and appreciated the nuances of filmmaking before others did. She was the director in Universal Studios. She made films opposing death penalty, against the hypocrisy in religion and politics. She made films advocating birth control and also made films opposing abortion. Frances Marion was another successful screenwriter for 25 years in Hollywood. Frances Marion was an actress before starting screenwriting. There was an issue of actors on screen talking unrelated dialogues since it was a silent era, and the audience could read their lips and understand whatever their actors were actually talking. So Marion started writing words for the actors to speak when they are acting. She began her screenwriting career this way. She produced over 250 films. Mary Pickford is another famous actress who acted as a little girl in movies. She made many movies with Frances Marion, and the partnership of Frances Marion and Mary Pickford was very strong. Together, they were transforming Mary Pickford from an actress to a Hollywood star. The star system emerged from the audience. The audience started recognizing the actors who are appearing again and again on screen. They started writing fan letters, and thus and therefore they became stars. The Birth of a Nation by D.W. Griffith was the first full-length feature film. It ran over 2 hours. By 1914, virtually every city of America that had a population of around 4,000 had a movie theater. During that time, there were around 21,000 movie theaters in the United States with an average seating capacity of 500. Movies made in the first decade and a half were based on social issues that were prevalent in America at that time. Every week, a movie on a social issue like child labor or some other predominant issue of that time was released. Directors took topics from the stories on the social issues that came up in newspapers. Until 1914, Europe dominated international filmmaking, headquartered in Paris. The Pathé Company operated the world's largest film studio. The destruction and devastation of World War I changed that. By the end of the conflict, United States was the source for the 80% of the world's films and supplied 98% of movies shown in America. In hardly 20 years, American motion picture industry had evolved from cheap novelty to the country's 5th largest industry after agriculture, transportation, oil and steel. By 1920, the era of the first inventive engineers and entrepreneurs was over. Many of those who led the way were left behind. Georges Méliès, the magical French innovator, had been forced to sell his Paris studio. He ended up selling toys in Paris train station. Edwin S. Porter, the man who began the stories in cinema, and even Thomas Edison, the man who began it all, left filmmaking in 1918. 1921 is the record year for Hollywood. It produced 854 films in that year. By 1922, around 40% of American population went to the cinema every week. By 1925, American silent epic adventure drama film Ben-Hur: A Tale of the Christ directed by Fred Neblo, was released. The cost of making Ben-Hur was around $3.9 million, making Ben-Hur the most expensive film of the silent era. Some of the scenes in the movie were shot in two color or Technicolor. The black and white footage was color tinted and toned in the film's original release print. The film's chariot race scene was very popular. This movie was remade in 1959 and this movie won 11 Academy Awards. In 1919, Charles Spencer Chaplin co-founded the distribution company United Artists, which gave him complete control over his films. Chaplin's first feature-length film was The Kid in 1921, and this movie had a tremendous emotional power. Followed by A Woman of Paris, which was released in 1923, The Gold Rush in 1925, and The Circus in 1928. Charlie Chaplin was the first one to discover the power of merchandising, the enormous craze for the little tramp character. Charlie Chaplin dolls, puzzles, and other Charlie Chaplin products were sold. He initially refused to move to sound films in the 1930s, instead producing City Lights in a silent film in 1931. Chaplin wrote, directed, produced, edited, starred in, and composed the music for most of his films. He was a perfectionist, and his financial independence enabled him to spend years on the development and production of a picture. His films are characterized by slapstick combined with pathos and typified in the tramp's struggles against adversity. Many of his movies contain social and political themes as well as autobiographical elements. Many comedians like Keaton and Boyd, like Chaplin, couldn't strictly stick to the script or time schedule. Of all the silent clowns, Chaplin maintained his independence and creativity during the sound era. Chaplin got complete ownership of his movies and he was a millionaire. Einstein was one of Chaplin's worldwide fans. Chaplin had the popularity and power to release City Lights, an essentially silent film, during the talkies era. He received an honorary Academy Award for the effect he had in making motion pictures the art form of this century in 1972. He continues to be held in high regard, and his movies The Gold Rush, City Lights, Modern Times, and The Great Dictator are often ranked on the lists of the greatest films of all time. In 1923, the enormous sign of Hollywood overlooking the town was erected on the hill in the suburb. A 50-foot tall sign was erected and it read Hollywood Land, promoting real estate development in that area. 20 years later, the sign was still there with only the name Hollywood remaining, and it became the accidental symbol of the movie capital and one of the world's most recognized landmarks by 1927, even though the Mughals and stars had nothing to do with the Hollywood Land sign. The Mughals and stars were eager to promote the industry and would come to represent. The result would be the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science. But first, not everyone in the Hollywood was ready to celebrate. The movie business was always headquartered in New York City and not in Hollywood. Faced with increased dissatisfaction about salary and creative control over writers, directors, and actors, to the horror of the Mughals, there was a talk of unionism. And the Academy was organized in part by producer Louis B. Mayer because it was assumed that if people with problems come to the Academy, they can keep the unions out of Hollywood. The first Academy Award happened quite informally in a hotel in May of 1929. Not everyone took the honor seriously. In fact, Jack Warner nominated a dog named Rin Tin Tin under the Best Actor category. Two films, a lyrical drama Sunrise and an aerial war epic Wings, were both in the first Academy Awards as Best Pictures. The movie Wings showed the power that movies yielded in America during that time. The War Department supplied manpowers of hundreds of pilots and equipments, hundreds of planes and tanks worth $16 million for the shooting of the movie. It was an expensive action oriented production of those times. Pioneers like D.W. Griffith, Max Sennett, Charlie Chaplin, and other silent film Mughals had set high standards. They also invented a lot of filmmaking grammar and storytelling techniques that remain intact even today. By 1927, the first talkie was released in the Hollywood. The movie is The Jazz Singer.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet. Wait a minute, I tell you. You ain't heard nothing. You want to hear Toot Toot Tootsie? All right. Hold on. Hold on.
In fact, movies with sound was made in the beginning of cinema itself by Thomas Edison and his associate W.K.L. Dixon in the 1890s. And suddenly, the movies without sound was considered outdated. Many silent films were left to decay and disappear. At first, Warner's sound and disc system was a success, but keeping two machines in sync was a problem. Fox Productions developed an optical system that put both picture and soundtrack on the same film. With the transition to sound, the cost of movie making was doubled or tripled. Cinema was a mass media entertainment in the 1930s. The greatest competition for cinema was the radio. The radio was a threat to cinema, but it also enriched the industry by providing so many performers that the audience already loved through radio. Hollywood signed these performers to acting movies, and audiences could see them now. Many of the important actors were radio stars. The most successful radio to movie star is Bing Crosby. This was the first guy ever to be the number one box office star consecutively for 5 years. No one else had ever done that before. Hollywood started looking for actors who can speak properly, so many of the old actors were replaced by new actors. In 1930, Hollywood made more than 70 musicals in that year alone. Busby Berkeley was a director of those times. In his musicals, the camera used to be choreographed with the dance movements. He also used many close ups to bring in intimacy. Frank Capra was one of the successful filmmakers in the 1930s. His movies made the common man a hero during the time of depression. Oscar Micheaux is one black director who recorded the injustice done to the blacks in America. He was a farmer and started writing novels in 1913, partly as a response to the movie The Birth of the Nation. He turned to movie making. His 1920 film Our Gates deal with the hypocrisy of racial discrimination and the horrors of lynching. Micheaux went on to direct 42 movies as the market for racist films grew among the African American audience who were either stereotyped or ignored by the Hollywood. He made movies till the end of 1940s. With the power of cinema, Micheaux and other black filmmakers recorded a world that was separate and unequal. The films of Michaud expressed the injustice in the American dream. In the 1930s, Walt Disney was the first one to adopt the Technicolor process, and his animation was the first to be honored with an Oscar. Walt Disney thought about a feature length cartoon. Nobody in the industry wanted it. Everyone said that he's a fool who wants to produce a feature length cartoon film, as they thought that no one would want to see them. It was even said that watching a color cartoon would hurt your eyes. In 1937, he borrowed money from a bank to make the movie Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which became one of the highest grossing movies of all time. When no one took cartoons seriously, Walt Disney did The Wizard of Oz. It was the film that changed from black and white to Technicolor. David O. Selznick's Gone with the Wind won 10 Oscars, and it was one of the most successful movies. And an African American actress, Hattie McDaniel, was awarded with the Best Actress Academy Award. This also suggested that Hollywood imagery had the power to change attitudes about race in American movies, but it was a long way to go. Around 1940, when Hitler's Nazi party came to power, Universal Pictures owner Carl Laemmle, who was an immigrant Jew himself, wanted to do something for the Jews. He brought 400 to 500 families out of Germany. John Ford and Orson Welles are very important directors. This is the beginning of everything that will change the American cinema. It is the beginning of everything. Wells is the filmmaker who has influenced the young filmmakers of not only America but all over the world. It took years for the influence of Citizen Kane to sink in. The movie Citizen Kane is a biography of William Randolph Hearst. He was a pioneering studio owner who owns the media empire in America. Wells's film was rarely screened in many of the theaters, but Hearst could not stop the success of Orson Welles' Citizen Kane. This is the beginning of director's cinema, artistic cinema, and independence in cinema, and it is the film that has influenced many young directors all over the world. Since 1939, war has been raging in Europe, but 80% of the Americans did not want to be a part of it. Neither did the majority of the Hollywood filmmakers except Charlie Chaplin. In 1940, Charlie Chaplin stood virtually alone when he dared to ridicule Hitler and Mussolini in the movie The Great Dictator. In 1942, the movie Casablanca was released. This movie dealt with wartime America. Humphrey Bogart in the movie was a perfect metaphor for America itself. Studio and craftsmen were used to make training films and documentaries, often using second tier actors like Ronald Reagan. These kinds of movies had the ability to change minds. After 1946, the audience interest changed. Film noir comes in. There were higher profile films like The Maltese Falcon, Double Indemnity, etc. Joan Crawford is one of the important actresses in Hollywood who portrayed independent women characters struggling with changing times. It is almost impossible to tell the history of feminism in America without mentioning Joan Crawford. The characters that she embodied in movies showed how women were in America. Decades ahead of that moment, behind the screen, women were becoming production pioneers, screenwriters, costume designers in the early days. By 1940, costume designer Edith Head, winner of 8 Oscars, was changing the fashion sense of Paramount Pictures. During that time, there was a practice of studios owning the actresses as well. I shall quickly run through some of the important movies, directors, and technical developments in Hollywood. The 1952 movie Singing in the Rain dealt with the problems that movie industry faced during the transition from silent to sound. Hollywood industry had to do something different compared to the home television in the 1950s. As a result, Hollywood came up with the widescreen movies with more picture content which created a wow factor and was successful in drawing back crowds to theaters. Since there was no standards body, several aspect ratios started cropping up across different film houses. Some of the popular ones being Panavision ratio of having an aspect ratio of 2.20 is to 1, and a much wider format called CinemaScope of ratio 2.39 is to 1. CinemaScope is an anamorphic lens series used from 1953 to 1967 for shooting widescreen movies that crucially could be screened in theaters using existing equipment, albeit with the lens adapter. It was created by Spyros Kouros, the president of 20th Century Fox, in the year 1953. And the format was 2.66 is to 1, which is almost twice as wide as the common Academy format of 1.37 is to 1 aspect ratio. So the word scope, which comes from CinemaScope, is still being used widely in filmmaking, and the aspect ratio ranges between 2.35 is to 1, 2.39 is to 1, 2.40 is to 1, or even 2.55 is to 1. Hand colored films appeared in 1895 with Thomas Edison's hand painted Annabelle's Dance for his kinetoscope viewers. A more common technique emerged in the early 1910s known as the film tinting, a process in which either the emulsion or the film base is dyed, giving the image a uniform monochromatic color. So there had been various attempts like this to bring movies in color, and the Technicolor film process was the dominant technology for shooting movies in color in Hollywood in the 1930s and 40s. The 1939 film, MGM's, the production studio MGM's film, The Wizard of Oz, was the first film to be released in Technicolor. 3D technology, even in movies, has existed in Hollywood as early as 1915. The earliest 3D film shown for an audience was The Power of Love. This movie was shown in Los Angeles on 27 September 1922. Betty Davis was an American actress of film, television, and theatre. With a career spanning over 60 years, she has acted in around 100 movies, and she is regarded as one of the greatest actresses in Hollywood history. She started her career in Hollywood in 1930, and she has been nominated for Academy Awards under Best Actor category many times and has won Academy Awards twice. Elizabeth Taylor and Marilyn Monroe were other well known actresses. Elizabeth Taylor, for the movie Cleopatra, received the highest paycheck for movies then. High salaries for actors began with Elizabeth Taylor, who got $1 million as payment in the year 1963. Marlon Brando Jr. was a American actor and film director with a career spanning 60 years, during which he won the Oscar for Best Actor twice. Godfather, The Wild One, A Streetcar Named Desire are some of his most famous movies. Billy Wilder was an Austrian born American film director and screenwriter whose career spanned more than 5 decades. He is regarded as one of the most brilliant and versatile filmmakers of the Hollywood golden age of cinema. With The Apartment, Wilder became the first person to win Academy Award as producer, director, and screenwriter for the same film. Few of his famous works are Sunset Boulevard, Double Indemnity, etc. English born Alfred Hitchcock knew how to enchant the American audience, and he arrived in the United States in 1939, and by 1950 he was a recognized director in the US like John Ford. Hitchcock gives a personality to his pictures that attracted the American audience, and Hitchcock's wife Alma Hitchcock works as a writer in Hitchcock's American films, and Hitchcock relied on her. She changed many aspects in the script, made lots of corrections, and nothing passes without her approval. Hitchcock was recognized as a film master with the movies Strangers on a Train, Vertigo, and North by Northwest. He was also more famous as a television personality, and his movie Psycho was released in June 1960. Hitchcock's TV success started in 1955. Moving on to Walt Disney, he's the first one to make connections between cinema and television. The cinema industry is a product of many visionaries like him. From feature length animation to amusement park programs in television and merchandising, all this goes back to Disney. Disney decides to build an amusement park in California. Since he was running out of money, he decided to work with ABC Television to create TV shows. Disneyland was the name of the series, and it was an hour long advertisement for Disneyland, which was still being built. Disneyland also used all Disney products, and others in Hollywood had to rethink their relationship with television. Frank Capra was an Italian American film director, producer, and writer who became a creative force behind some of the major award winning films in the 1930s and 40s. And he has got three Academy Awards. Some of his movies are It Happened One Night and It's Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life. Stanley Kubrick, America's most revered and respected directors, had directed 13 feature films and 3 short documentaries over the course of his career, from Day of the Flight in 1951 to Eyes Wide Shut in 1999. Many of Kubrick's films were nominated for Academy Awards or Golden Globes, but his personal win of an Academy Award was for his work 2001 Space Odyssey, especially for the special effects. And some of his other famous movies are Full Metal Jacket, Clockwork Orange, and Shining. And a 1967 American comedy drama film, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, was produced and directed by Stanley Kramer, and it was written by William Rose. This film was one of the few films of the time to depict an interracial marriage in a positive light, as interracial marriage historically had been illegal in most states of the United States. It was still illegal in 17 states, mostly southern states, until June 12, 1967, 6 months before the film was released. Gone with the Wind is a 1939 American epic historical romance film. This film was produced by David O. Selznick of Selznick International Pictures and directed by Victor Fleming. It received 10 Academy Awards. The film is regarded as one of the greatest films of all time. The Sound of Music is a 1965 American musical drama film produced and directed by Robert Wise. The Sound of Music had become the highest grossing film of all time, surpassing the collections of Gone with the Wind, and held that distinction for 5 years. And the film was just as popular throughout the world, breaking previous box office hits in 29 countries. And The Sound of the Music received 5 Academy Awards. Francis Ford Coppola is an American film director, producer, screenwriter, film composer. He was a central figure in the new Hollywood filmmaking movement of the 1960s and 1970s. Coppola's reputation as a filmmaker was cemented with the release of The Godfather in the year 1972. This movie revolutionized movie making in the gangster genre and was adored by public and critics alike. The Godfather won 3 Academy Awards for Best Picture, Best Actor, and Best Adapted Screenplay, and it was shared with writer Mario Puzo. Spielberg is an American filmmaker. He is considered one of the founding pioneers of New Hollywood era. Some of his famous movies are E.T. the Extraterrestrial, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, etc. Martin Scorsese is an Italian American film director, a screenwriter, producer, and actor whose career spans more than 50 years. And one of the major figures of new Hollywood era. He's widely regarded as one of the most significant and influential directors in film history. Scorsese's body of work explores themes such as Italian American identity, Catholic concepts of guilt and redemption, faith, machismo, crime, and tribalism. Some of his most famous movies are Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, The King of Comedy, Goodfellas, Casino, The Irishman, which was released in 2019, etc. And he has established a filmmaking history involving repeated collaborations with actors and film technicians, including 9 films made with Robert De Niro. Okay, so with this, we can end this lecture. You can also read about George Lucas, Christopher Nolan, Quentin Tarantino, James Cameron, Roman Polanski, etc. They are some of the directors, famous directors of Hollywood. Thank you.